Da da da! What's my good cheer? Welcome, welcome, everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes, get those notifications out, let people know I've gone live. And in the meantime, if you've never met me before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside. And, I was trying to explore the inside today. But the thing is, that's one thing you can't multitask and do a good job at. I had video, I had to edit, and it is not one of my fortes. And I have to tell you, it's not something I look forward to doing. I'm not good at it. I know I am just compounding and confirming that affirmation because that's what it is. But I can help it because I really do not care for editing video. What I do care about is sharing my experiences with other people making movement or trying to make movement, but find they get stuck in their lives, right? That they're the biggest instigators for myself too. Oh my goodness, editing video today was like pulling it was like pulling teeth. I was up every 5-10 minutes maximum to piddle around and to do something, and I'm trying to be constructive, like whatever, productive in what I'm piddling around with, because I did so much jumping up, and it's just ADHD. I have never been diagnosed with it, but the symptoms are pretty bang on when it comes to me sometimes. And, just recognizing some of these things that are just patternings in what I do, in how I think, how I feel, right? That it's something that always has to have a little bit of a blender to it, right? A little bit of a mixing spoon, that it always has to be moving. I'm not somebody, I don't know if this is a good analogy. I'm not somebody, and everybody's different, when you get your plated dinner, right? Somebody sets your plated dinner in front of you, and some people eat clockwise, the different items on the plate. Some people eat counterclockwise. Some people have little bits of patterning when it comes to the food groups, right? For myself, I have always been somebody to mix it all together, right? To eat it all at once. Like today when I had my scrambled eggs and I mixed it in with my hash browns and I stabbed a sausage and I got a little bit of everything. This is the way my life is, and this is the way it's flavorful for me, right? But it also says something about me if you were like an outsider looking in. And we do a lot of that. I know, as a highly sensitive, as empathic um, uh, person, being that I am, that, I can tend to let my mind go wiry in the things that catch my interest, that I get curious about. And I thought, that it was just the perfect thing for me to fall into when I started my YouTube channel and I started doing that pivoting. Even pretty early on, I understood that I was being readjusted, that I was being cranked in a direction that sometimes that the insights or the experiences that we have are so impactful and so so much the evidence. It's not something that we can argue about, and we can fight what's happening, or we can push back on something that we have a different perception of, right? Because everything is a perception until you have the truth, until you have that experience for yourself, right? My mother used to say all the time, if somebody told you to jump off the bridge, would you? Right? You can't believe. We're just going to send some good cheer out there. I live behind a fire station, and it's been a few times today that the fire trucks have gone by. They've had a busy day. So let's put that energy out there. They're going to get to their destination and find out everything is okay. And they could just turn around and go right back to the station. Okay, so have I lost my place? Right? It is something that will get my full attention, are those fire trucks and those paramedics. Um, right? They're loud, number one. Number two, I have been sending out good cheer to them every time they've come driven by, with their sirens on. I've been doing that consistently for years now, ever since I've lived here. And so now it's a part of my life, part of my routine. What I think about is realized, and as part of my affirmation and as part of that good cheer, because that's what it is. You're wishing somebody well, somebody you may never meet, that you probably don't know, that don't know you. And you don't know the capabilities and the expensive knowledge that's just kind of stored. This is how I look at it. Like, it's always been there, but just stored. It's never been resourced up until recently, right? And I'm delving into it a little bit. Like, I'm delving into a lot of things that I believe, just in the sequencing as to when they're coming to me, that it's just too much, right? It's the evidence, it's the right, it's that stuff that compounds my beliefs and compounds my faith in where I'm sitting in the moment. And, for the most part of today, I wasn't feeling it. I was probably a little bit frustrated. Hello, Hanner. I was probably a little bit frustrated, but handling it well. I've been doing this for years, that, even though I'm not expressing it in any way, and I'm not stopping, and I'm not mumbling under my breath or anything, right? That I can tell when I am not excited to be doing something. And that's the way I felt today. And again, when those wrenches and little problems arise, it's a learning process. So we learn to resolve our own little problems. And sometimes we can do it, sometimes we can't. Sometimes we just have to take a breather, which is what I did today. Oh my goodness. On my trip, in one of my specific parks, the ones that I'm filming or I'm editing right now, right? I am editing Silver Falls Provincial Park, and I was filming a hike that I was on to do Silver Falls, and I filmed it all in slow motion. I was wondering why one clip was over a half an hour long. It was because it was all in the slowest of slowest slow motion, and I don't know how to rectify it. And that hike is a pretty important hike for my channel, right? Because it was one of the specific reasons why I picked going to that park. Now, I didn't want to waste too much time. Like, I thought, okay, well, that can be one of those walk with me Cindy Jeans. That can resolve that issue for the moment. And we'll just put all that footage off to the side and we'll just concentrate on getting the main video up because we promised it for Wednesday and we got to keep our word. And I felt pretty good about that. But as I'm editing the video, all I can do is multitask in my mind and try at the same time, right? Because I'm in the program anyway, editing my main video, that I thought, oh, maybe this will work and maybe this will work. And periodically I would stop to check something out, right? To experiment a little bit, see if something else would work. And again, it just kind of, when it doesn't work, it's frustrating. But I understand that it's part of the process, so I don't make a big deal about it. But I'm still not a fan of these kind of uh, problems. For lots of people, they might not even seem like big problems. And for other people, they might think, oh my goodness, that old lady, she edits video? Like I can't even do that, right? So we're all in different stages of our interests and our learning. And right, I'm not an expert on editing video, right? I'd like to think I'm at the very least, right? Somebody who can get the job done when she has to. So when she has problems, right? That she's recognizing that she's not getting it done the way she wants to get it done, Cindy, me, right? That right, it just kind of, okay, we got to this point, let's just stop and just take a break. And I was at it all day, but I tell you, I may have actually worked on the video in the total of the whole span of the day, like from this morning until maybe an hour ago when I shut it down. I probably did a total of 3 hours maximum of actual editing, and the rest of it was just piddling around, right? And so I made a mental note tonight when I was washing the dishes that I do have to make a procrastination list. This video, I have to get it finished editing tomorrow, and it's a long video, you guys. It's so long. Oh my goodness. And it's kind of a little bit heartbreaking at the same time too, because I'm vicariously living through my own experience of being out in these provincial parks, and it makes me want to go back and do it again, do it right, right? Not to film that slow motion. I just sometimes I just it's things are so second nature that I don't even think that I could hit a button, and right, and that's what happened in my last provincial park too, Blue Lake, because I could see when I was looking at the footage, it had the same kind of aspects of it. So I have been filming in slow motion, which is kind of disappointing. I hope this is the last one that I'm going to ruin clips, right? I was able to get the video shortened so I could get it through my Kodak, because again, it was so long. It was such a big package. Nothing wanted to take it to edit it. But I'm hoping I can find a way to speed it up. But in the moment, I'm just going to finish my main video. And I got pretty far. I got pretty far today. Like I said, I'm getting a little bit better at editing. I still don't like it, right? But I'm getting better at it because I have to. right? Nobody's gonna do it for me. And if you'll do it for me, shoot me shoot me an email. But happy to let you have a shot at that if you're just offering to help me out, right? Yeah, I'm not a big fan of editing videos, so I'm really happy to be in right now and just take a little bit of a break. And I'm going to go back into it for probably an hour or so tonight, just so I can feel proud that I put the I put the effort in. But you know what? I wouldn't have gotten much of anything else. It was a perfect day. It was cold outside. It was just a perfect day to just sit in and apply myself. Nobody was doing anything, right? There it was just a perfect day. Everything that needed to be done was done, and even if I just got 3 hours of work in, even if I was sitting at my desk for 10 or 12, right? The job still got done. So I'm happy with that. And it kept me busy because I'm periodically in that ADHD popping up and doing piddling around and stuff. I'm catching up on on content from some of the creators that I appreciate. And it just seems that everybody is just kind of in the midst of expecting something in their lives, and in that expectiveness that everybody has, I start to expect things to come into my life. And whether it's good things or bad things, I have no idea. All I know is I feel the change. I feel, right? Maybe it's not a crank for me. Maybe I made enough change this year that I'm not going to get a major crank, but I can feel some serious cranks, some very serious takedowns, takeouts, however you want to put it. There's a lot going on. So I'm grateful that I was in the video editor today and just hanging out with myself. Thank you so much. Thank you for popping. Thank you for popping in, Hannah. Okay, so we're just going to pick a card tonight. We're going to keep it short, like I said, right? I feel it, and I put the work in. I put the effort in. I'm going to do a little bit more because I can and I should, right? And it'll make it a lot easier tomorrow to get that video done, so it's already Wednesday, so that I can upload it, and that's when I'll feel really good, right? And I gave myself the whole week to get it done, and I took an extra day off for myself. So that's on me too. That's on me too, right? But it is a little bit sad because I want to be sitting in my camping chair and looking out at the lake, or I want to be walking on the trails, or enjoying the sunsets or the sunrises, and I'm editing video, and I can't do anything about it because the video is what's making me melancholy. That's the word I'm looking for. Right? It's not sad. It's just a little bit reminiscent. It's a little bit, right? It's just a little bit, oh, I wish I was there. Right? Right? It's like when you have to go to work and everybody's going to a birthday party and you really wanted to go too, but you got to go to work. Just right, right. Okay, so let's just grab a card, quick card tonight. Go into it for a couple of minutes. I hope everybody is having a good start. Oh, I took it. Okay. Oh my goodness. This is a good card. And because I always go with the first perspective, the first thing that comes to my mind, let me tell you what the word is first. We got the word forgiveness. Forgiveness is a gift in its giving and its receiving. And the first thing that came into my mind was why this is such a big card for me. This is a very important card. You know, this was the one word that got the ball rolling for me in a way that I was understanding a little bit, right? That I was I've had words that I've lived by before. We were talking last week that I had that word despite, right? Despite what anybody said, despite what anybody thought of me, despite whether somebody thought I could or thought I couldn't, it didn't matter. If I wanted to do it, I want to pursue something, I was going to do it. And I lived by that word all through my teenage years and my young adulthood. And, you know, I woke up to some different ideas in my late 50s. And, you know, I went to some workshops and some seminars. And I remembered them saying, you know, the word should be positive, right? That you have. And despite isn't a very positive word, right? Because it's a fight back word. It's a pushback word. And it just doesn't feel positive. For me, it was positive. For me, it got the job done, and it made me strong, and it made me resilient, and it made me hold my ground, and it made me get in fights after school. Right? And it worked for me. And so I decided, you know, we're going to go with a different word. And at that time, um, my mother had passed away. She was sick. It was may have been a long illness, right? She kept it to herself, but in the end, it turned out to be like 11 days, and my mother had passed away. So it ended up being a very short experience within the family. And you know, my sisters had a hard time it talking to her because we didn't even know how she wanted to how she wanted to be put to rest, if she wanted to be cremated, if she wanted to go to BC and join my father in his side, or she wanted to stay in the city and be close to her kids. We had no idea. But my sisters didn't want to have that conversation with her. They knew that my relationship with her was pretty non-existent in any way. I showed up for family gatherings and stuff, but you know, me and my mother had never been close. Like never been close. And my sisters were really having a hard time with my mother passing away. And you know, when I say me and my mother were not close, there were misgivings in that relationship. There were hurts, and there were betrayals, and there were rejections. The whole shebang. I come from a dynamic family, and you know, I made choices in that relationship too. And if you're just walking in, we got the word forgiveness. So my mother was passing away, and she was in the hospital, and my sisters asked me if I would go talk to my mother and let her know what was going on and get some answers to see, you know, because we wanted to make sure that she got to leave the way she wanted to leave. And uh and there was an instant moment there that I just felt such sadness for her, you know, for her whole life, you know, that she didn't get to have the life that she wanted. Right? There were good moments, there were bad moments, but they weren't her moments. She lived for the house, she lived for her husband, and to extent she lived vicariously through her through her kids, right? Some of her kids. But me and my mother, we were never close. But anyway, I had that conversation with her, and I remember taking the palm of my hand and, rubbing her forehead. And in that instant, just a sadness for my mother for not being able to have that life that she had always wanted. She never wanted to be a mother. My mother, um, was very dynamic and very ruling in the household, but at the same time, because of that relationship, that relationship that was just limerence, it wasn't love, but she needed, right, and that protection and that envelopment of being cared for and stuff. She needed that, and she didn't get to have the life that she truly wanted. She ended up being pretty resentful for the most part of her life, and she made lots of people pay for not having the life. And she reminded everybody constantly, but my sisters loved her so much. Like, I don't understand, I know it was my experience with her, but my mother never hugged any of us kids, never told any of us she loved us, right? She never showed us any affection in any way at all. And I didn't understand why my sisters didn't recognize that, didn't realize that, or chalked it up to something other than what it really was, right? But their relationship with my mother was totally different. And that's why I didn't have any problem going to talk to her about that. But I'm so glad I had that moment with my mother, because when I did, that forgiveness was so real, because I really put myself in, not in her shoes in the moment, but in her shoes in the life that she had. And my mother worked hard, right? My mother created the best life for herself that she possibly could, considering what life was giving her, right? And I really felt that she was kind of feeling that out in me too. And we had that moment of forgiveness, and it got the ball rolling for me. For each one of us, it's going to be a different word, right? And like the way I was taught, it was a positive word. Even forgiveness is a positive word, right? Forgiveness is a gift, right? In its giving and its receiving, right? It is a gift, and especially for someone like me who believes in evolution, who wants to carry, right, unforgiveness into something brand new and fresh, to whatever it is that we're going to move into next. It will be something new, it will be something different. You don't want to drag any ill will or bad feelings, or, right, jealousy, resentment, right? There's just so many negative words, just as many negative words as there are positive words. And I delved into the positive words, and I've had a few words since then. And for me, they were just prerequisites to the next lesson. For the past, I would have to say, for the past few years now, I have been into the word change. And because change is partnered with choice, because change doesn't happen except by the choice of someone else, right? Yourself or something else, right? And when we make these choices, change inevitably happens in our life. But it could be a slow, painful process, or we can immerse ourselves in it like I did today, right? Get that video done, Cindy. Get it off the table so you don't have to worry about it, so that you can spend that time now concentrating on how to figure out how to fix the speed in that great trail explore that I had, and I had it set in slow mo. I'm such a silly girl sometimes, and sometimes you think you just get better and better and better every year, that your videos get better, and they do get better, but then you kick yourself because you made a silly mistake, or you made a new mistake, something you've never done before. And that's what AI is all about, right? Is just to just muddle in it, right? To experiment and allow ourselves to be taught in that. And it's easy to be taught in something you don't know, because you can just Google it. Ask the question, whatever question that you could possibly think of to ask, right? There are answers out there for it, right? Yeah. And that really is a truth. And that's something I have to remind myself of, because there was a couple of times today that I researched out answers that I was looking for. And, I'm thinking I should be doing this a lot more. But at the same time, right, when you give up that power, right, that you don't have to do the work anymore, right? It's like my generations, the calculator. If you got caught in high school with a calculator, you didn't want to get caught. It was hard to not get caught, because the calculators were like this big. They had a cord on them. They were like $60. If you got caught with one of those in class, you'd be kicked out of school for a couple of weeks. Now we have the calculators on our phones. Now we could just ask uh, Google to do the calculation on that and give us the answers. And it makes it so that we're not doing that mental work ourselves. And that's exercise, right? That's exercise. And I don't want AI learning to do everything for me, right? But it's nice to have a toaster, isn't it? Right? So you want to have a little bit in your life, but you have to be able to do a lot for yourself, so that if the calculator for some reason did disappear in the world, right? Could you add 1 plus 1, right? So if you could have that minimum amount of understanding, that might be good enough in our little bit of move, a little bit, our we're doubling up in our intelligence every year, twice as much. Now, it was an article that I was reading, that we are just moving so fast in our intelligence. So I'm not sure whether or not not searching out the answers is causing us any serious problems. I think it's just making extra space for storage of useless information that is just meant to keep us all squirrely and busy in our lives. Okay, you guys, I am babbling away. I'm going to give my video that I'm editing one more little shot tonight. See if I can get a little bit more done, so that maybe tomorrow we could have the next video, Silver Falls, which I'll post on Wednesday. If you want to come in on Wednesday and check it out, it will be up hopefully by noon. Okay, you guys. Hannah, thank you so much for popping in tonight. I hope everybody is having a great start to their week. But, right, I'm sure you're just as frustrated with your week as I am with mine, at least if you're hanging out with me. You guys have a great night, and we'll see you.